For the sake of a breeding experiment, I dissected the little merman I had raised with my own 2 hands. 5 years later, I was arrested. But the merman I had brutally murdered descended like a god and abducted me. I wanted to say thank you, but a knockout drug was forced down my throat. He bound me in iron chains, his fingertips pressing dangerously against my lower abdomen. Brother, experiments are so fascinating. Let me explore just where the limits of a human lie. Chapter 1. There was an ancient water torture that involved forcing a prisoner to drink excessive amounts of water. That was what I felt like right now. The swelling in my abdomen was unbearable, as if it would burst at any moment. I wasn't afraid of death. I just didn't want to die now. Liam. I grasped his wrist, my voice shaking uncontrollably. Please, let me go. Let you go. Liam seemed to have been waiting for me to say those words. He suddenly raised his voice, grabbed both of my hands, and pinned them above my head. Elijah, don't you think that sounds ridiculous coming from you? I froze. Liam gripped my waist, a faint smile on his lips. He spread his fingers and pressed his palm firmly against my swollen lower abdomen. Elijah, did you let me go back then? A horrible premonition filled my heart. I dared not hide it any longer and quickly said, I will die if you do this, truly. I really was pregnant with your child. Liam's expression suddenly shifted. The hand pressed against my abdomen forced downward with merciless strength. No. Ah! My scream echoed in the room. Pain surged like a tide, pinning me helplessly to the ground. A warm flow rushed from my lower abdomen, and the smell of blood permeated the air. I could even hear the sound of something tearing my internal organs apart. The agony overwhelmed me. Before I lost consciousness, I vaguely saw Liam brush back my soaked bangs. Brother, didn't you teach me not to believe anyone? His smile was still innocent, but his words were brutal. Dare to use that lie to deceive me again, and I'll rip you open with my own hands, just like you did to me back then. Rip me open. Cold, painful, and bloody phrase. But 6 years ago, I truly had done that to Liam. I still remembered that day. The small merman was strapped to the operating table, his tiny hands obediently curled into fists. Even with nails sharp enough to tear through metal, he didn't struggle once. He just kept his eyes open, quietly watching me. It was as if nothing was different from usual. I wasn't about to brutally dissect him. I was about to feed him milk, help him bathe, and comb his beautiful shell-adorned hair. The knife I held suspended in the air. I could no longer lower my hand. A cold voice came over my earpiece. Professor Elijah, think of the future of humanity. The human population has dropped off a cliff. Only by finding a way to increase fertility can we change the destiny of the human race toward extinction. We need merman genetic data. I looked at the small merman. My hand was shaking. He is just an experimental subject, cultivated by humans, and he must sacrifice for humans, my superior said impatiently. If you can't lower the knife, I'll hand him over to Professor Oliver. There are plenty of people willing to do it. Oliver, the infamous demon experimenter. Any creature that fell into his hands would be tortured, wishing for death to escape the torment, until the very last drop of value was squeezed from them. Liam was destined to die. I couldn't bear to let him suffer that kind of agony. The knife descended. Blood splattered onto my eyes. Liam was calm. Elijah, you have made up your mind. Are you going to kill me? I nodded, holding back tears. Oh! Liam raised his hand and wiped away the blood near my eye. Want to cry. Elijah can't bear it, either. Elijah said you would love me forever, right? The knife in my hand cut through the merman's lower body. The beautiful fishtail was sliced open. The fresh blood was scalding hot, burning my fingers. Right? Liam was persistent. The merman. What a mysterious and ancient species. They can achieve immortality through love, and eternal damnation through hate. The love he wanted I could no longer give. What about the hate, then? Don't be so sure, I said, suppressing the ache in my heart. In the end, you are no different from any other experimental subject. So baby, do not believe anyone easily again. Still calling me baby? Liam smiled, as if the knife had not pierced through his chest. Elijah just can't let go of me. Even if we are both experimental subjects, you like me best. Otherwise, why would you only help me through the heat cycle? Isn't that right? Liam asked me. His tone was calm, his eyes tender and firm. It was the look he had been spoiled with, receiving my undivided attention. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Not receiving an answer, Liam asked again and again, his voice starting to sound broken. I only remembered that my knife became steadier and steadier, until finally, it cut open his windpipe. The clear voice became raspy, like a broken bellows that had been discarded, and the confidence in his eyes was on the verge of collapsing. The sky outside the window was painted a bloody red. The small merman slowly closed his eyes. At long last, a single crimson pearl fell from the corner of his eye. He nodded obediently, his voice so soft it seemed it would be scattered by the wind. Okay, baby remembers. Baby won't believe anyone easily again. From now on, Elijah is not Elijah. Elijah is just someone else, truly. I am telling the truth. So, Liam would not believe my words. And he certainly would not believe that hideous scar on my abdomen. Chapter 2. Exactly 8 days had passed since that day. In the pitch black, I fiddled with the iron chains on my wrists, smiling bitterly. Just how much must he hate me to not come see me even once? An attendant pushed the window open a tiny crack, letting in a sliver of light. I grabbed his sleeve. Where is Liam? Don't be in such a hurry. The attendant, wearing pure white gloves, pried my fingers off one by one. His movements as cold and indifferent as a machine. As usual, he brought in a meal of 5 dishes and a soup. Eat first. Eat well, drink well, and recover. The king will come looking for you. To let me go? He said he wants to thoroughly humiliate you. It wasn't until the attendants pressed my shoulders down, forcing me to kneel in the courtyard, and I heard the moans coming from inside the room, that I finally understood. The weeping was deeply affectionate and lingering, like a kitten's claws gently scratching at the tip of my heart. And Liam was coaxing in a low voice, his tone husky and deep. Kneeling there, I felt completely dazed. Were 6 years really that long? In my memory, Liam had a clear, beautiful voice. He would cling to me affectionately, rubbing his soft cheek against my palm. Whenever I tried to run away, he would hook his icy tail around my calf and gently pull me back into his arms. Elijah, you look so beautiful when you cry, but I can't bear to let you shed tears. The young boy's eyes had sparkled, filled to the brim with cherished devotion. Kiss me, and I'll let you go, okay? A single, gentle kiss was enough to soothe his unbearable heat cycles. But 6 years later, I was locked in cold iron chains hand and foot, kneeling outside his room without a shred of dignity, listening to him being intimate with someone else. The obedient little fish I raised had turned into a bastard. He had learned to be bad. He was trying to anger me. I raised my head. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon. The sun had long since set. A light, pattering rain fell into my eyes. Person should be honest. I admit it. It hurt. Taking a deep breath, I snapped the iron chains with one violent pull and stood up straight. The attendants looked panicked. They raised their swords at me one by one, yet none dared to step forward. I walked over in a few strides and kicked the bedroom door open. Liam turned his head, pulling the blanket over the person beneath him, his eyes full of undisguised provocation. What are you doing here? Do you know what true humiliation is? I cut him off directly. I lifted my foot and stepped onto his bare shoulder. Let me teach you. What you should be doing isn't taking him, it's taking me. Then I immediately regretted it. Liam looked up at me, a brilliant light suddenly flaring in his eyes. Then, that light gradually faded, turning into a tangible gaze, as if trying to see right through all my clothes. He reached out and tightly grabbed my ankle. The icy touch of the merman's skin made me shiver. Smooth hair brushed against my calf, and a warm breath moved up inch by inch, stopping at the root of my thigh. Liam chuckled softly. Brother, you aren't wearing underwear. Does it look good? Of course. Thanks. I have another question. I pointed to the foot of the bed, where a merman had his head covered with a blanket, pretending he didn't exist. Do you plan on letting him watch? Liam froze for a moment. All right, you don't. I answered for him. Then I turned around and bundled that merman up in the blanket. A bright red fishtail accidentally slipped out, the color so vivid it stung the eyes. I lifted him with one hand and threw him, blanket and all, right out the window. I clapped my hands together and had just turned back around when a sudden force struck. Liam gripped my waist and pinned me directly against the windowsill. With his other hand, he patted my cheek, his tone incredibly arrogant. You let my little lover go. How are you going to compensate me? I lowered my head and looked at Liam. Away from the ocean, Liam really wasn't suited to stand and talk to me. Supporting his body on his tailbone, he was 5 or 6 centimeters shorter than me. I had to lower my head just to look him in the eye. Being pinned against the window by him like this felt very awkward. But his overbearing appearance was also a bit cute. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Is it that funny? Liam pinched my chin and kissed me. He kissed heavily. As our lips and teeth tangled, the taste of blood spread in my mouth. My tail was very agile before it was sliced open. You were the one who dismantled my bones and took them away. At that time, my lower body was nothing but a bloody, mangled mess. My scales were gone, and my tail was rotting from soaking in the seawater. I killed a sea turtle, ground its shell down piece by piece into small fragments, arranged them by size, and carefully stuffed them into my tail. Then I scraped away the rotting flesh, stitched it together, and waited for it to heal. That's how I survived. Blood trickled down the corner of my mouth. Liam pulled away from my lips, forcefully wiping the blood away with his fingertip, and then licked it off. Do you still think it's funny now? He bit me so hard it hurt, and his fingers scraping across the wound on my lip hurt too. It hurt so much I was on the verge of crying. Right a split second before my tears fell, Liam pulled me into a tight embrace. I leaned against the merman's slightly cool chest, listening to his strong heartbeat. Brother, how could you be so cruel? Digging out my bones is one thing, but why didn't you stitch my body back up? Left all broken and torn. I was scared. Chapter 3. How could I have just left him? After the experiments, discarded subjects were put into sealed bags. They were either thrown into the incinerator to be completely destroyed, or chopped up and mixed into the nutritional meals for the young experimental subjects. Before Liam could be completely disposed of, I swapped him out with a bag of silver cod. My colleagues all thought I went out to find the next experimental target. In reality, I took him, broken and bagged, back to the sea where we first met. When Liam first woke up, he was very sluggish, as if he had lost his mind like a silly little fish. The seawater sparkled under the sunlight. Soaking in the water, he flicked his tail, his movements very stiff. Liam was confused. Elijah, why are the other little fish's tails so smooth, but mine has so many raised ridges? It's so ugly. I don't like it. My hands had never held a needle and thread. The first time I picked up a needle, it was to stitch together the broken body of the child I had raised with my own hands. The way his tail looked now was already the result of my absolute best efforts. It's not ugly. I really couldn't think of any better words of comfort. Mermen naturally love beauty. He used to love his sparkling scales and his fins that were as soft as silk, washing and wiping them carefully with a small brush every day. But now, I could only pray that time would fade the scars and let him slowly accept it. Oh! Liam tilted his tail up, stretching it straight out in front of me. Then kiss it, okay? Since waking up, Liam hadn't shown any particular liking or dislike toward me. It was as if he didn't know me anymore. I couldn't guess his true attitude toward me. Why? If you won't kiss it, you actually think it's ugly too. I don't. I leaned down and, facing the vast ocean, pressed a kiss to his wet fish tail. Now can you tell me why? I don't know. I just feel like, if you kiss it, I'll be happy. Really? Super happy. That was enough. Whether Liam remembered me or not, it didn't matter. I would stay with him while he healed, and once he recovered, I would go back. But I didn't end up leaving, because I discovered something. The eggs Liam had once buried deep inside me, the ones I had forgotten about, they were still alive. My flat lower abdomen was slightly raised. At first, I thought it was just bloating from not being used to the seafood here. Until one day, I suddenly remembered that. Liam's frantic heat cycle. Mermen are a very instinct-driven species. A merman who is constantly left unsatisfied will become depressed. When the negative emotions accumulate to a certain point, they will violently backlash. And I, apart from comforting him and yielding to him, truly couldn't refuse those teary, wet eyes. By the time I remembered the possibility of fish eggs, it was already a few days later. There's reproductive isolation between humans and mermen. Nothing will happen. Even if... No, I'm a man. I don't have that function. Looking at my disappearing abs, my feelings were a complicated mess. I couldn't keep this child. I had to go back, and once Liam healed, he should have his own new life. But, Elijah, for you. Liam sat beside me and handed me a beautiful red berry. He poked my stomach and asked curiously, "It's very sweet. The little babies will like it, right?" I had never told him about this. Liam had seen my slightly bulging stomach and reached out to touch it himself. This was the first time he had actively initiated contact with me since waking up. 2 seconds later, the merman looked up, his expression serious. "Elijah, there are little mermen in your tummy. 2 of them." Before I even had time to be surprised, Liam dropped a second bombshell with a completely blank face. "And I am the father." No one knew that in that moment. My brain almost exploded. "Why do you say that?" Liam scratched his head, staring blankly at my stomach. "I don't know." He pulled my hand and pressed it against his own heart. "Elijah, I feel like there's an empty piece here. But whenever I see you, it fills up. Sometimes it's very sweet, happy like eating red berries. Sometimes, it feels like dying. It hurts so much that I want to eat you. I thought about it for a long time, Liam said to me. I think wanting to eat you means wanting to be with you forever. If I am their father, does that mean you can stay and accompany me? I thought, and I still really want to be connected to you. Liam looked up, watching me earnestly. Please don't leave me. If you're going to leave, my heart will know it before you do. A layer of mist covered his eyes. It was as if I didn't agree, he would shatter into pieces right in front of me again. I planned a fake death. As secretly trained personnel, we would only be known to the world after we died. My colleagues held a grand memorial service for me. The whole world knew that a scientist named Elijah sacrificed himself for the benefit of all humanity and deserved to be praised. Elijah! Liam swam over excitedly, stopping at my feet to show off his big tail. The torn tail fin trembled slightly, but he looked exceptionally happy. Look! The scars are starting to fade. He reached out and carefully touched my stomach. This is so nice, Elijah. I wish time would go a little faster. By the time they are born, I'll have very few scars left, and I won't scare the babies. How could you? You are already a very beautiful little merman. Everyone will like you. What about you? I thought about it, and feeling that I was safe, I said boldly, of course I do. Otherwise, why would I give up everything to be with you forever? Forever. The little merman's eyes widened, as if mesmerized by the word. He threw himself into my arms and nuzzled my chest. So satisfied. My heart is so satisfied. I swear, that was the happiest time of my life. Thinking back on it later, I was entirely too carried away to naively think my plan could deceive the entire upper echelon, and to so easily say forever to Liam. That grand memorial service known to the whole world was meant to erase my existence, and also to cut off all my escape routes. One evening at dusk, while Liam was out catching fish, they appeared in front of me, fully armed. Elijah, make a choice. Do you want to save yourself, or do you want to save Liam? I wanted Liam, of course. I'm a human. If I got caught, I could still figure out a way to sneak out and find Liam again. But Liam couldn't. He would be drained of his very last drop of value, and in a place I didn't know, he would be ground to pieces all alone. Therefore, carrying the fish eggs, I took Liam's place and became the new experimental subject. I was shackled to the operating table by my former colleagues, disemboweled and cut wide open. It hurt so much, it was so agonizing. I was only thankful that this knife did not fall on Liam again. But what I didn't know was that my little fish had crossed the ocean to save me, was caught by the agents guarding the base, and was thrown into the meat grinder like trash. While my stomach was being sliced open, Liam's body was being mangled, weeping tears of blood. He pounded on the glass of the machine over and over again until his arms were shredded. He screamed my name, asking me why I lied to him, why I was doing this to him. How could Liam not hate me? Later, when I saw that surveillance footage, even I hated myself. If I had known he would be treated like that, I would have rather pushed everyone away that dusk, ran to find Liam, shot him dead, and then blown my own brains out. The little fish, ground into pieces, was dumped into a waste bin and flushed out into the sea. When he woke up again, Liam had lost a part of his memory. He didn't remember that most beautiful time, nor did he remember that we once had two little mermen. My little fish only remembered to hate me. In his second death, without my love for him, it was pure hatred that gave him his second life. As for me, I only wanted to thank the heavens, thankful that he still hated me enough to keep me alive. Chapter 4. I'm asking you, brother. You let my little merman lover escape. How are you going to compensate me? When Liam said this, he had already pinned me to the bed. His palms were quite a bit larger than mine. He could easily control both of my arms with just one hand. Tisk! Liam raised an eyebrow, running to my place without wearing any underwear. Your attempt to seduce me is a bit too obvious. Being spoken to so harshly, I still had to explain. Is it possible that day? I swallowed hard, still feeling a lingering fear when recalling the situation back then. They got dirty with blood, and you didn't give me any new ones, so I didn't have anything to wear. Liam's eyes darkened, his hand moving to my lower abdomen. How about this? Serve me well, and I'll use the most beautiful luminous pearls from the bottom of the sea to make you new pants. My body suddenly tensed, not because I was frightened by his words, but because I remembered the scar on my stomach that I absolutely could not let him see. If we really did it, everything would be exposed. You're dirty. Of course, I knew exactly how to speak to hurt someone the most. I don't touch dirty things. Ugh. The hand on my lower abdomen suddenly pressed down hard, landing exactly on the unhealed wound inside my stomach. Say it again. Liam's face carried obvious anger. I'm giving you a chance. Speak carefully. He was threatening me. If I gave an answer he didn't want to hear, that hand would press all the way down, tearing open my freshly healed wound and throwing me back into a living hell of pain. I said, I find you dirty. If you've touched someone else, don't touch me. Fish aren't an exception. The expected pain never came. Instead, Liam grabbed my neck, his entire face flushing red with anger. Elijah, I thought you understood. Understand. Breathing was difficult, but I enunciated every word clearly. Understanding you is something only lovers deeply in love would do. Liam, what are you to me? A former bedmate? Or? Stop talking. My mouth was tightly covered by his palm. The force was immense. The thin layer of webbing between his fingers was trembling slightly. I ruthlessly bit through his webbing, and he retracted his hand in pain. What won't you let me say? Liam, this is nothing but the truth. Did you not die miserably enough last time? Do you still want to be with me? Shut up. I told you to shut up. If that's really the case, then you're too cheap. I look down on someone as lowly as you. I'd rather give myself to other experimental subjects than have you. Elijah! Liam raised his hand high, the sharp wind from his palm blowing aside the hair on my forehead. I closed my eyes. Hate me. Hate me. Beat me to death or throw me out, it's all fine. You need to live on well. You'll forget me before long anyway. But when the slap landed, it turned into a gentle caress. He touched my eyes, his tone full of confusion. You're clearly saying such hurtful things. So why does the sadness in your eyes look like it's about to overflow? Why? After saying this, he froze, his fingertips resting on my brow. As if finally giving up his resistance and taking off his heavy armor, he let out a long, exhausted sigh. I've never understood what you're doing. Why can't you just stay by my side? Why? Are you going to do something dangerous behind my back? He muttered to himself, unable to stop from pleading. Elijah, open your eyes and look. I'm not dirty. Couldn't open my eyes. The moment I did, the tears would be unstoppable. Seeing that I ignored him, he paused, a hint of a breakdown in his tone. Elijah, look at me. I'm not dirty. I didn't touch anyone else. I didn't touch anyone at all. Please don't truly hate me. I really was about to lose control. How had loving me become his instinct? Even if he forgot, he had to remember it all over again, stumbling and casting aside his dignity just to remember. But protecting him was the last thing I could do. I had already lost my children. I couldn't bear this heart-gouging pain again. Whether you touched someone or not isn't important to me. I forced myself to remain calm. Because you are not important to me, Liam. You are just a passing traveler in my life. Nothing more than experimental data. I sighed, pretending to be very annoyed. I don't understand either why you insist on pestering me. Liam's eyes slowly turned red. But in the end, he just grabbed my collar and buried his face in my chest. You carved my heart out once, and I imprisoned you once. This way, we can go back to how we were before. Liam, that's just your own idea. I interrupted him. Love and hate in this world have never been equal. It's not simple addition and subtraction where you can clearly calculate who is right and who is wrong. Love is more like multiplication. As long as one side is 0, the result will always be 0. Do you understand? He looked up, gazing at me in confusion. I just want to leave you, I said. I don't want to have any relationship with you. We each live our own good lives. Isn't that nice? I was already begging him, and everything I said was the truth. Thunder rolled outside, and lightning tore through the night sky, illuminating his face for a split second. A pearl rolled down his cheek. It slipped into my shirt, resting against my chest. No! The merman tore the remaining webbing between his fingers, using his bloody grip to clamp down on my neck. My face was pressed against the bed, and Liam refused to meet my eyes. Even his tone had become flat. I am already the king of the sea. I have the right to keep my beloved toy. Elijah, whether you love me or not doesn't matter. Getting your body is enough. As for my sincere heart, you don't deserve it anyway. A sincere heart. I gripped the blanket tightly and bit my wrist, suppressing all my muffled groans in my throat. Actually, I had held his heart with my own hands once, back when I dissected him. It was red, very irregularly shaped, and unlike soft, warm flesh and blood, it was more like a stone. That was when I realized. Mermen are cold-hearted because their hearts are inherently hard. For Liam to have treated me so well in the past, he must have used every ounce of his strength. When I stayed on the island, I thought, I have already let him down once. I cannot let him down a second time. Unfortunately, I failed again. As long as he follows me and loves me, Liam will die again and again. Chapter 5. When my child was taken away, I discovered the organization's greatest secret. At the time, they extracted the fish egg from my stomach and shined a high-intensity light on it. Through the translucent shell, I could see a beautiful fishtail inside. It was just like Liam's. Absolutely beautiful. I couldn't help but curl my lips into a smile. Reaching out toward the egg, my voice was hoarse. Because it had been exposed to oxygen before it was fully developed, the little merman was in excruciating pain. Its two tiny hands kept clawing at its own throat, leaving red scratch marks on its little neck. But it was no use. It hadn't even opened its eyes. It just instinctively reached a tiny hand out toward me, letting out weak, fragmented cries from its throat. Elijah, do you love it? Oliver guided patiently. If you love it, it can survive, right? Just like Liam. My heart was breaking. I instinctively tried to reach out and hold it, but my arms were stopped 10 centimeters away. The iron chains were pulled taut to their absolute limit. I was going crazy. Speak. Oliver pressed my head down, looking completely deranged. Whether it lives or dies depends entirely on you. Hurry up. Love it. How could love be expressed in mere words? What was I supposed to do? What could I do? I could only watch helplessly as the palm-sized merman struggled in agony, suffocating from lack of oxygen. Finally, holding up the little hand that never managed to grasp me, tears the size of red beans rolled from the corners of its eyes. At last, it slowly stopped breathing. Fuck! Oliver shoved me away in frustration and kicked the little merman far across the room. The tiny, twisted body hit the wall, was picked up by a white-gloved hand, and was tossed emotionlessly into the trash can. No! Don't throw it away. Give it back to me. Give it back. No one listened to me. Oliver paced around the room in a rage, constantly pulling at his own hair. What is going on? Why couldn't this merman resurrect? Elijah, are you fucking playing with me? I get it. I get it. You don't love your child at all. You only have Liam in your heart. I felt a moment of panic, as if I had just glimpsed some hidden secret. It's fine, another colleague said, pulling Oliver back. Liam's experiment was a success, which proves this is possible. Maybe we were just too hasty this time. What do you mean it's fine? The higher-ups can't wait. This merman was too small. Don't lose hope. Doesn't Elijah have 2 fish eggs? Nurture the other little fish well, and it will definitely succeed. The group grabbed the other fish egg and prepared to leave. Don't go. Without time to think about what this meant, I grabbed the hem of Oliver's coat, begging bitterly. Leave that one for me. You can apply for the male fertility project. I am the perfect experimental subject. I will cooperate with the experiments. Soon, you'll become a scientist whose name will go down in history. Isn't this day what we've spent all these years in the lab for? Oliver, for the sake of us growing up together. Oliver pried my fingers off one by one and laughed mockingly. Elijah, sometimes I really envy you. You're so smart. The very first experimental subject you raised succeeded by a stroke of luck. But then again, I think you're pathetic. You are so stupid. Even now, you still haven't guessed what experiment we are actually conducting. Isn't it breeding? Beg me. Oliver avoided the question. He simply pinched my chin, rubbing his thumb against my lips. Please me the same way you made Liam happy. If I'm in a good mood, I'll give the dead little fish back to you. How about that? The crowd backed out of the room. He unlocked my chains and leaned half his body against the experimental bed. Through his glasses, his eyes were full of mockery. But I had no choice. I could only kneel between his legs. Kissing, holding hands, making love. Those are things only people who are mutually in love would do. Right, Elijah? Yes, our Liam is so smart. Truly a fish who understands love. In the end, I turned my head away and slammed my forehead heavily onto the floor. The impact of bone against the ground sent blood streaming down my cheeks. I beg you, Oliver, give it back to me. A leather shoe extended out, stepping on my forehead. Oliver tossed the cold corpse of the little merman into my arms. Look at what you've become. Where is that proud prodigy now? Remember this, Elijah. I will achieve fame and success. And that merman of yours will also become my experimental subject. Liam, I won't let him go. At that moment, I truly felt that my cries to heaven and earth would go unanswered. I had been injected with an overdose of drugs and fed potent serums. My adrenaline was surging. Even with my stomach cut open, I was exceptionally lucid. The moment Oliver left, I propped myself up and operated the instruments, trying to save my little fish. I injected medicine, I pumped it in, but it was all useless. It just lay in my arms, slowly losing its last trace of warmth, turning stiff. Such a tiny merman. It had never opened its eyes, never had a name, never received a single kiss full of love. It just left all alone. Not long ago, Liam had been gently stroking my stomach, anticipating its birth. I finally couldn't hold it back anymore and broke down crying. The little merman on the experimental bed overlapped with the image of Liam from years ago. I cried so much my eyes were red and swollen. Suspended between lucidity and chaos, I recalled the past I least wanted to remember. The anomalies during Liam's final experiment. I dug out the recorded data from back then. Written in the notebook were words I couldn't comprehend. Losing 1,200 milliliters of blood will cause hypothermia. The 16th cut will induce spasms. Dismantling 47 bones will cause pain beyond words, making an experimental subject with the vitality of steel want to commit suicide. Every word, every sentence was inhumane. After that dissection ended, all my attention was on swapping Liam out. I hadn't participated in the subsequent research at all. Only now did I realize how strange it was. If they only needed genetic data, drawing enough blood would have sufficed. If that wasn't enough, taking a small amount of tissue would have worked too. Cultivating an experimental subject is highly expensive. They shouldn't be dissected unless absolutely necessary. Then why did they absolutely have to dissect him and even force me to do it? Liam returned from the dead, and they said the experiment succeeded. The little merman didn't survive, and Oliver was anxious and restless, trembling all over. The higher-ups can't wait. What kind of situation would make them unable to wait? Clutching my head, I carefully searched the information in my memory. Thinking closely, the only thing that matched was Michael, the marshal with peerless talent. It was rumored he had merman blood, but it was never confirmed. Even though he was in his twilight years, no obituary had ever been heard. The question was he still alive? Or was he dying? A thought exploded in my mind. Perhaps the breeding experiment was just a front. There was only one true purpose: resurrection, or even immortality. I suddenly remembered the time I first defied my superiors for Liam. He had raised his index finger in a hushing motion. Elijah, do not ask too many questions. Those who know too much either become our core members, serving the organization for life, or, he made a throat-slitting gesture, they disappear. Recalling this, a chill spread through my entire body. It was a coldness welling up from deep within, turning into pain, devouring my soul inch by inch. Holding the corpse of the little merman, I felt lost for the first time. Earth's resources are limited. It's impossible for all of humanity to achieve true immortality. Therefore, this experiment was only benefiting one specific class of people. I clutched my head, completely unable to believe it. From the day I was picked up, I had been secretly trained. My mentors taught us the world's most difficult formulas, demanding excellence and constant innovation. Even when our brains were pushed to the limit, we couldn't rest. I thought I was doing the most meaningful work in the world. When I planned my fake death, I felt guilty. When I was treated as an experimental subject, I had grievances but no hatred. But in the end, the human cause I had fought for my entire life was nothing more than a self-indulgent carnival for a group of totalitarians. Every animal I cut open, every little life I raised, they weren't sacrificed for scientific research. They were for the selfish desires of humanity. Now, recalling what I did to Liam, that wasn't an experiment at all. It was more like a frenzied slaughter of a mysterious species. To see exactly what it took to stimulate his potential. To reach the legendary state of living eternally in love, resurrecting in hate. That was why it was so easy for me to swap Liam out. That was why Liam, my face instantly turned pale. That meant they would never let Liam go. In a panic, I used medical glue to stick my cut flesh together and stumbled outside. The agents outside the base were dumping waste into the sea. Seeing me, they greeted me naturally. Professor Elijah, you're back from your business trip? I looked at the sparkling waste in the bucket, my breath catching in my throat. Oh, this was a mutated species that swam up from the sea. It was swinging an ugly tail and attacked people without a word. We caught it and shredded it. The agent smiled, pounded his chest with his left fist, and winked at me. Don't worry, Professor Elijah. We will protect you all. The isolated agents didn't know what had happened. They especially didn't know that the thing in their bucket was the Liam that Oliver was desperately searching for. It was my lover. Ah, I see. I nodded, pretending not to care. Just dump it. Liam's shattered finger twitched. A large, blood-red pearl rolled down and stopped at my feet. I turned my head away coldly, racing against time to delete the surveillance footage. In that moment, my heart completely died. Chapter 6. Opening my eyes, Liam was pinning me down. Sweat slid down his neck, turning into pearls that dropped onto my chest. Alive, warm, perfectly fine Liam. Baby, I murmured, reaching out to touch him, but my hand met the tip of his tail. His originally broad and beautiful tail fin had been sliced off and still hadn't grown back. All that was left was a thin, pointed tail encased in a hard shell like a sea turtle's. A dull ache pierced my heart, and I was jolted completely awake. Liam's mouth left my neck, leaving behind a trail of stinging hickeys. Elijah really has gotten old, fainting at the drop of a hat. Let's change the game. I blinked. No matter how Liam insulted me or resented me, I didn't care. Nothing could soothe me, having just woken from a nightmare. More than the fact that he was alive. Even if he made my lips split and bleed, making swallowing feel like swallowing razor blades, it was nothing. Boring. Liam grabbed my neck and lifted me up from between his legs. He scrutinized my face and softly spat out a few words. Look at yourself. Who is the dirty one here? I'm dirty, so just don't touch me. My voice was as hoarse as if I had swallowed needles. But Liam started laughing at this moment. Humans say that those who betray a sincere heart must swallow 10,000 needles. Elijah, you deserve it. Yeah, I did deserve it. I tilted my head back, smiling so hard I wanted to cry. Liam seemed unable to stand this expression of mine. With a flick of his wrist, he threw me back onto the bed. Elijah, stop acting. Stay put. I won't let you die, so you are not allowed to die. He turned to leave, and I hurriedly reached forward, grabbing his tail. Liam stumbled. He looked back at me, a flash of light in his eyes. Are you looking for death? Liam, I'm begging you for one thing. Speak. Let me go. Dream on. Pick another request. Don't leave this place. At least wait a few days. Okay? You want me to stay with you? No. Fine, I promise. I'm going to get water. Liam tossed me back onto the bed. Elijah, you're filthy. You only deserve to lie beside me after you wash yourself clean. Understand? Watching his retreating back, my tears fell silently. He was still too young a little fish. The methods he used were so childish, and even his motives were so obvious. It felt like I had chewed on a bitter lotus seed, the bitterness spreading deep into my heart. The sincere merman couldn't let go of the first person he ever loved. He was always bound to give me chances time and time again, but I was destined to disappoint him. Lightning tore through the sky. Liam swam away very quickly, as if afraid that if he were a second slower, I would change my mind and stab him with sharp words again. Yet until his back was blurred by the torrential rain, the tip of his tail was still dancing with joy, shining with the light of hope. I let out a long sigh. In just a few short years, Liam had grown into the omnipotent king of the sea. But as fate would have it, I had long become a small boat he could never salvage, forever unable to dock in his harbor. Sleeping beside me, Liam seemed exceptionally uneasy. You won't run away anymore? Will you be obedient? Will you keep your word? I gave affirmative answers to every question. Still not at ease, Liam wrapped his fishtail tightly around me, only then falling asleep peacefully. By the faint moonlight, I traced his silhouette over and over again. Then I injected him with a syringe of serum. During my years in the lab, I had secretly developed this drug specifically for Liam. When I escaped the lab, I made sure to bring it with me. I hadn't expected to run into pirates on the way, and just as I approached the coast, I was intercepted by Liam's sudden appearance. Liam was an accident. After confirming the serum was injected, I began my final farewell, completely free of reservations. A light kiss on the tip of his tail. A light kiss on his fins. A light kiss on his lips. Finally, I whispered in his ear, Liam, to be honest, I am truly sick of you. But I love you so much. I can't bear to watch you suffer alongside me. I can only lie to you one more time. The drug's effect was very strong. After he woke up, even if he didn't become a fool, his mind would be sluggish. He would never again remember that a person named Elijah existed in this world. By then, I would have resolved all the problems, and my existence would also be erased from the world. I couldn't bear to part with him, kissing his eyes and brows over and over again. Liam, the love you yearn for is so precious, and the love you give is equally as grand. But this world is vast. Mountains and rivers are eternal, and the rivers and seas have their own destinations. You shouldn't have been tethered only to me for a long time now. Let me face my destiny. That is the true way to love me. Taking advantage of the rainy night, I quietly left. During those years treated as an experimental subject in the lab, I suffered unprecedented torture. Forcing my mind to hold on when it was on the verge of collapse, I gathered all the data. I also discovered a massive secret. This project had only passed middle management approval. It was never authorized by the highest leadership. And highly classified joint experiments require the approval of the Interstellar Alliance. Otherwise, they are illegal. That meant the very existence of the entire base was a severe violation of the law, and all personnel involved should be punished. In the past, Oliver relied on the fact that my only remaining child was in his hands, thinking I wouldn't dare make a reckless move. The situation was different now. Oliver thought he had kept me in the dark. But he hadn't. There was a thick glass door separating his lab and mine. But the moment the little merman died, my heart had already known. From that moment on, he had no leverage over me. Through an agent outside the base, I managed to contact a clerk at the Central Bureau. Fortunately, justice still existed in this world. The clerk, filled with righteous indignation after learning the situation, stated they would definitely report this to the Central Bureau. But the prerequisite was first-hand evidence. Only then could the cruel experiments be terminated. Only then could Liam be safe. The darkness just before dawn is always the heaviest. I ran frantically across the beach. Turning on my earpiece, I searched for the ship coming to extract me. Elijah, are you there? We're here. A small boat slowly approached on the calm sea. On the boundless ocean, a single navigation light pierced the darkness. Ecstatic, I grabbed the hand reaching down to me, preparing to board the boat. I thought I had grabbed a lifeline, that I was finally going to tear through this filthy sky and let a ray of light in. But Oliver's face suddenly appeared before my eyes. That familiar mocking expression on his lips remained unchanged. He said, "Elijah, long time no see." Before I even had time to feel shock, Oliver lifted his chin toward the space behind me. As expected, he chased after you. 100-foot tidal wave surged behind me. Liam stood at the crest of the wave, his face livid. He said, "Elijah, I really shouldn't have trusted you." And I thought to myself, Liam truly is a wildcard variable. The giant wave shot into the sky, and the storm seemed ready to destroy the small boat. I took the opportunity to jump into the sea, but my ankle was grabbed by a hand. Oliver choked my neck and pressed a gun against my temple. He spoke confidently to Liam. "Merman, come here." The monstrous storm calmed in an instant. Oliver said, "Elijah, you really are the best bait." The next second, the gun originally pressed against me turned toward Liam. A powerful tranquilizer dart shot into Liam's throat. The merman immediately fell unconscious, dropping from the high altitude and landing into a fishing net. "Liam!" I elbowed Oliver, and taking advantage of him loosening his grip in pain, I snatched the gun and aimed it at him. Oliver raised his hands, an earpiece pinched between his fingers. "Don't resist, or you really will never see your son again." A tender, childish voice came from inside. "Papa!" I froze. Hearing that voice that sounded incredibly similar to Liam when he was young, I spoke involuntarily. "It's me, it's Papa. Speak. Quickly speak to me." "You're not Papa." Oliver. Oliver responded with practiced ease. "I'm here. Wait for me to come home, baby." I was dumbfounded. How could this be? Wasn't my child already dead? Why would he call Oliver Papa? He smiled at me, then suddenly delivered a heavy strike to the side of my neck. Before my consciousness blurred, I heard Oliver say, "If I didn't make you think the child was dead, how would you have run away with the data? And how would I have ever found Liam?" Chapter 7. When I woke up again, I was back in the laboratory, and Liam was right beside me. He was already awake, his eyes staring at me, though I didn't know what he was thinking. Seeing me look at him, he pressed his lips together, and finally couldn't help but ask, "Brother, do you really hate me that much? You even had to say it in my ear while I was asleep." Oliver was wiping a knife, applying alcohol to the fishtail, looking like he was about to make a cut. Yet Liam asked me, "If that's the case, then why did you kiss me?" Kissing my ears, kissing my nose, kissing my eyebrows. The knife hovered over Liam's tail. Panicked. "Oliver," I called out to him, "I've already reported this to the Central Bureau. They will be here very soon. Don't do anything rash." "Rash?" Oliver acted as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. "Elijah, you are the one who's truly rash. Why don't you think about why I was on a Central Bureau ship?" "Why?" Oliver sneered. "How do you think a project this massive came to be? Spending tens of billions of dollars, capturing rare animals all over the world, secretly cultivating a batch of scientists from childhood just to keep it confidential. Do you still think the Central Bureau doesn't know?" The data I had painstakingly gathered was set ablaze by a lighter. Ash danced in the air, sparks dotting the room. With his back to me, Oliver recklessly tossed the burning documents into the air. The darkness is inherent. It has always existed, yet you just had to expose it and break the balance. It won't disappear because of you. It will only devour you. Understand? Watching the falling ash, I felt an unprecedented despair in my heart. Deep down, rationally, I clearly knew no one would come to save us. Yet I still yearned for that sliver of dawn. See? Disappointed in the end. Elijah. Liam suddenly spoke, his tone stubborn. You haven't answered me yet. I said, now is not the time to talk about this. Then when is the time? When I'm dead. Am I only going to know you truly love me when I'm dead? I never knew Liam could be so completely oblivious to the setting. It was a matter of life and death, yet he still insisted on obsessing over our relationship. Seeing that I didn't answer, Liam ignored Oliver's presence and started talking to himself. Elijah, you always said you wanted to teach me how to love. But you are the one who understands love the least. But I don't blame you. You don't have family, and you haven't received much love. But I'm different. I've had you by my side since I was little. You sang to me, learned how to cook for me, held my hand, and gently stroked my hair. All the experimental subjects despised me for being delicate and vain, but you would patiently pick up the most beautiful shells for me time and time again, put them in my hair, and earnestly tell me that I was the most beautiful little fish in the world. I received all your love. Therefore, I understand love better than you do. Elijah, let me tell you what I've wanted to tell you for a very long time. Liam tilted his head. Lying on the experimental bed, he twisted his entire body to look at me. Time seemed to rewind 6 years. Liam's scar-covered body overlapping with the tiny merman. They looked at me, their eyes earnest. Love is never a weakness. It is armor. It makes a little fish fearless, unafraid of even death. Heh! Oliver chuckled lightly, as if mocking Liam for overestimating his own capabilities. But the next second, a massive pounding sound echoed from deep underground. The steel-poured floor cracked open, and seawater erupted from the fissures. A giant wave rose up, instantly bursting through the doors and windows of the base. A tsunami struck. Lightning tore through the night sky, illuminating Liam's eyes. Ancient and mysterious golden patterns spread out from his pupils. The iron chains binding his hands and feet snapped at the sound. Oliver scrambled backward in panic. He raised his gun and fired wildly at Liam. Liam caught the bullets barehanded. Ancient power erupted, and the bullets shattered in his hand, scattering in all directions. The instruments in the laboratory exploded instantly. Glass harder than diamonds shattered in a split second, carving deep gashes across Oliver's face. Liam was like an enraged ancient deity, roaring to destroy the entire world. Alarms blared everywhere. People in lab coats fled in a panic, setting up weapons and taking aim at this deity on the verge of losing control. Amidst the ruins, I reached my hand out to Liam. Liam looked down at me. 3 seconds later, expressionlessly, he tore the thin webbing between his fingers and grasped my hand. The merman picked me up, hovering above the ocean, looking down at the humans on the ground like they were ants. Dying several times has granted me ancient power. But once triggered, I might lose control or I might turn back into a little fish. Amidst the sound of artillery fire, Liam kissed my cheek. I'm asking for your forgiveness in advance. If I turn back into a little fish, please don't abandon me. I beg you to pick me up and raise me by your side, just like when we were on the island. If I lose control, I might hurt you. Liam kissed my eyes. Tears kept welling up. It was impossible to tell whose they were. You could only hear the crisp sound of pearls dropping into the sea one by one. He pressed a white bone dagger into my hand. Use this to pierce my heart. I found my own bones once and thought they would be perfect to make a dagger for you. That way, no one can bully you. There. Liam wiped away my tears. Now I'm going to tell you. I am the king of the sea. No one can hurt you in front of me, not even the darkness. I will keep you safe before the darkness can devour you. Elijah, if heaven won't help you, I will. At the moment Oliver raised his gun at Liam, I could have easily shoved the lethal weapon aside. But Liam had blinked at me. I chose to trust him. I just never imagined that Liam's true purpose for returning to the laboratory was this. He saw things more clearly than I did, and he had lost trust in humanity much earlier than I had. So he was going to eradicate the problem at its root in his own way. At this moment, it was as if a massive hole had been torn in the sky. Rain poured down in torrents, like the apocalypse had arrived. The sea and sky blended into one. The berserk forces of nature tore apart the experimental base that was as solid as iron. Gale force winds mixed with thunder swept through every corner of the earth. A wail echoed between heaven and earth. It was the first time I witnessed the power of a merman, a power that bordered on absolute destruction. The base turned into a pile of scrap metal. In the face of nature, humanity appeared so insignificant. Oliver grabbed onto a piece of driftwood, struggling in the sea. Seeing this from afar, Liam sent a wave crashing over, flipping him over again. Oliver couldn't die. My child was still in his hands. Wait! I slapped Liam's arm, demanding he let me down. You want to know where the child is? I believe you can find him. Oliver looked at me, his eyes full of mockery. But it's useless. I'm the one who raised him. I fed him milk, combed his hair, and helped him get dressed. Mermen truly are fascinating creatures. They treat the words of those they trust like holy edicts. Oliver smiled and said, Elijah, did you know? He's incredibly obedient. I taught him that the first person he should love is me, and the first person he should hate is you. A cold glint flashed by. Blood spurted from Oliver's neck, splattering onto my face. He dropped the knife, gasping heavily for air. The winner becomes king, the loser becomes a bandit. I accept it, but the orders from the higher-ups won't stop. It ends with me today, but tomorrow someone else will continue. My eyes widened in terror. I grabbed Oliver's collar and shook him violently. Don't die. Tell me. Speak. Heh. Oliver slowly pried my fingers off and let go of his last piece of driftwood. Keep dreaming. Someone will fulfill my dying wish. And you, Elijah, I want you to spend the rest of your life unable to find your child. Unable to find both of them. Unable to find both of them. Both. My eyes widened, and I roared into the howling wind. The first child didn't die, did he? He's not dead. No one answered. With his blood staining my hands, Oliver sank into the bottom of the sea. I wanted to jump down and chase after him, to snatch the phone on his body and make one last desperate effort. The waves suddenly calmed down, and a powerful, oppressive presence slowly approached. A large hand grabbed the back of my neck. Icy webbing pressed against my skin, the chill piercing my bones. Liam's voice was as cold as a machine. Kissing, holding hands, making love. Those are all things only people who love each other can do. Right, Elijah. I nodded stiffly. Looking back, the golden patterns had covered his entire pupils. Before Liam could turn back into a little fish, he had lost control due to anger. Baby, MMPH. My first instinct was to soothe him. Before I could finish speaking, Liam pounced on me and kissed my lips viciously. The force felt like he was trying to bite off a piece of flesh. Tell me, where did you get those children? Where did they come from? He demanded an answer, yet gave me no chance to speak. A giant wave surged up. Liam choked my neck and pinned me ruthlessly against the beach. He kissed me as if venting his rage. His fish tail whipped heavily against my inner thigh, and I had absolutely no power to resist his fury. I could only endure the extreme agony. Children, and 2 of them at that. You're really something. Who is that person? Is he better than me? He was being so fierce, yet the rims of his eyes were red. Pearl-like tears fell one by one, smashing against my heart. It hurt so much. When will he ever change this habit of crying whenever he's sad? I raised my hand, wanting to wipe his tears, but Liam bit down hard on my wrist. With a crack, I frowned in pain, feeling my wrist bone shatter. In front of the out-of-control merman, the nightmare descended once again. Between heaven and earth, it seemed only one thing remained. Elijah, why did you betray me? Why didn't you want me anymore? I hate you so much. I truly hate you now. Is this a new method you came up with to make me hate you? You're going to do something dangerous again, aren't you? Was destroying the base not enough? Do you want to destroy all of humanity? Do I have to eat you before you're willing to stay with me forever? Chapter 8. All of humanity hadn't provoked him. I was the one who broke his heart. Mermen are incredibly naive. He took everything I taught him as absolute truth, firmly believing this was a signal that I was going to abandon him again. They are yours. I trembled beneath Liam's hands, struggling to speak. They are our babies. Sharp nails tore through my shirt, and Liam's grip left patches of bruises on my skin. When he touched the scar on my stomach, Liam's eyes widened. His failing vocal cords let out a hoarse sound. This? What is this? The golden light in his eyes gradually faded, but his movements didn't stop. He shook his head in agony while pressing me down even harder. Blood spread out, soaking the sand beneath me. Damn it, I'm going to die. I didn't mean to hurt Elijah. Ah! Liam was so frantic he was about to cry. Where is our dagger? The dagger you use for self-defense. I threw it away. Daggers are meant to be used against enemies, not to hurt the person you love. Rather than asking me to kill him, I'd rather die or we could die together. Enduring the tearing pain, I reached out and cradled Liam's face, my voice very soft. We'll die together. Before I could even finish the word, die, scalding liquid splattered onto my neck. I froze and looked up at Liam. Using his own hand with its razor-sharp nails, he had pierced his own chest. The ferocious movements finally stopped. In the dizziness of severe blood loss, my eyes widened as I watched Liam collapse off of me. The golden light completely vanished from his eyes, and the stormy waves on the sea finally calmed. A faint wail carried through the wind, as if mourning the departure of the king. I scrambled over in a panic, cradling his face and using my hands to block the wound on his chest. Are you crazy? I can endure it. I could clearly bear it, so why did you do this? Actually, I also understand, Elijah, Liam murmured. Love is presumptuous, but I only wanted to show you my good side. I didn't want to hurt you even the slightest bit. Can you forgive me, brother? He gave a relieved smile. Anyway, I won't really die. He was saying comforting words, yet blood was welling up from his mouth. It wasn't reassuring at all. Ever since I met Liam, my tears had become incredibly abundant. The sun of the next day was finally about to rise. Liam took my pinky finger and gently shook it. Our babies. What do they look like? Are they cute? What did they look like? I hadn't seen them either. I had only seen them die in front of me. Very cute, I said, fighting back tears. They have beautiful, big tails. They can call for Papa. Their voices are very sweet, and they look just like you did when you were little. Oh, Liam let out a long sigh of relief. Then I can rest easy. What are you resting easy for? If you don't come back, Liam held my hand. I know you will go look for the children. You won't die for me, and I will come back. Who the hell knows if you're trustworthy? More trustworthy than you. All these years, in order to be able to save you every time, I've experimented over and over again. There's no problem. The price for this power is death, but I think it's worth it. I sobbed uncontrollably. But Liam, I hurt you. I abandoned you. Why do you always choose me without hesitation? Why don't you hate me at all? Liam seemed to understand my tears. He chuckled softly, resting his head on my shoulder, calmly looking at the horizon. There, the sun was rising little by little. I'm just a little fish. I have to try my hardest just to remember things for 7 seconds. But because of you, I gained immortality, Elijah. Just the act of loving you has already filled my entire heart. How could you think I have any room left to hate you? The sun came up. The merman, whose life was slipping away, became transparent, and finally turned into a wisp of light smoke. Yet Liam's voice seemed to linger in the air. Please do not be sad over my departure. Your eternal love will grant me a new life. Liar. Who knows if there's really a new life? And who knows if he was just lying to make me keep living? I hugged myself. The tide rolled onto the beach, washing away the bloodstains on my body, like Liam's gentle caress. Damn it, I cried even harder. Suddenly, something cold and soft touched my toe. I ignored it, touched me again. I opened my eyes. A small puddle had formed in the sand by my feet, and a palm-sized little fish was swimming in circles, blowing bubbles. Through tear-blurred eyes, my eyes widened. Liam! The little fish wagged its tail happily and blew an even bigger, heart-shaped bubble. If you enjoyed this story, remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.